The day I was brought to meet the Jiang family, my boyfriend's so-called childhood sweetheart did everything she could to make me look useless. She rushed to brew tea, volunteered to cook, and acted like the perfect traditional woman, all while subtly implying that I was lazy, spoiled, and completely unfit to marry into a wealthy family. Then, with tears trembling in her eyes, she accused me of dating Jiang Wang, the legendary heir of the Jiang Corporation, only because I wanted money. I thought I was finished. Instead, my future in-laws applauded. My terrifyingly powerful mother-in-law casually declared that the Jiang family had enough wealth to last 10 generations, and that the only thing she feared was a daughter-in-law who didn't know how to spend it. According to her, a relationship built on money was far more reliable than one built on love. My grandmother-in-law dismissed the other girl's painstakingly embroidered artwork as a dust collector, then hugged the solid gold mahjong set I brought with tears of joy because it felt satisfyingly heavy when slammed onto the table. In the end, the green tea girl lost everything, and I won without even standing up. Welcome to Audio. We hope you enjoy the story. My name is Lin Yi Yi, and I'm an incredibly ordinary college student. Or, to put it more accurately, a professional couch potato. My life philosophy was simple. If there's a chair, never stand. If there's a bed, never sit. Unfortunately, life had other plans for me. After accidentally spending way too much money on weapon skins in a game, I found myself completely broke. Desperate for cash, I started searching for a part-time job. Dishwashing? Too exhausting. Tutoring? I was terrible at studying myself. Handing out flyers? Absolutely not. The sun and I were mortal enemies. Just as despair was swallowing me whole, I spotted a crumpled hiring flyer hidden in the corner of the campus bulletin board. Private library assistant wanted. Job description: sit quietly. Maintain silence. Occasionally turn pages. Remind others to keep quiet. Must tolerate low temperatures and strong air conditioning. Pay 500 yuan per hour, snacks included. My eyes lit up like car headlights. 500 an hour. Just to sit there and breathe? This job had clearly been created specifically for me. I sprinted to library room number 1 and pushed open the VIP room door. Inside sat a man leaning back in a chair with his eyes closed. He was absurdly handsome. Sharp brows, straight nose, pale skin, dark lashes. Even resting, he looked untouchable. The air around him felt freezing cold, both literally and emotionally, as if someone had stuffed the North Pole into a luxury reading room. That was the first time I met Jiang Wang, the legendary campus prince. The guy girls on campus joked about constantly, claiming that if he looked at someone for more than 3 seconds, she'd get pregnant. Completely ridiculous rumors, obviously. He slowly opened his eyes, his gaze sharp enough to cut glass. "You're here for the interview?" I nodded so fast my neck nearly snapped. "Yes. I'm extremely talented at sitting still and doing absolutely nothing." A faint smirk tugged at the corner of his lips. He tossed me a thick philosophy book titled History of Western Philosophy. "Sit over there and read aloud. Flat tone only. No dramatics." I happily accepted the task. Reading a book? Easy. I began reading in the driest voice imaginable. Ontology is the philosophical study of... 3 lines later, overwhelming sleepiness crashed into me like a tidal wave. My voice grew softer and softer, until it dissolved into the sound of gentle breathing. 5 minutes later, I was fast asleep on the table, drooling onto the edge of the book. I woke up to the sound of the hourly chime and nearly died on the spot. Oh no. First day at work, and I'd already fallen asleep. I carefully wiped away my drool and peeked toward Jiang Wang, fully expecting to be fired. But to my shock, he was asleep too. and, judging by the relaxed expression on his face, he had slept incredibly well. Jiang Wang slowly opened his eyes and looked at me. His gaze briefly landed on the suspicious wet stain beside the book before something strange flickered through his expression. Without a word, he pulled out his wallet and tossed a thick stack of bills onto the table. "Come back tomorrow. The pay is doubled." That was how I discovered Jiang Wang suffered from severe insomnia. Because he'd been forced to shoulder the family business from a young age, he barely slept at all. He had hired countless people to read to him before, but every single one either tried too hard to sound attractive or deliberately used emotional, theatrical voices to flirt with him. Only me, with my hypnotically flat tone and god-tier sleep-inducing presence, managed to accidentally become his human sleeping pill. From then on, I officially became Jiang Wang's lucky charm. Every day, my job consisted of entering the VIP room, eating the snacks he bought me, drinking the milk tea he ordered, reading 3 lines from a book, then collapsing into sleep beside him. Life was perfect. Until rumors spread across campus that the university's cold prince had monopolized a VIP room with some random, lazy girl. That was when Liu Liu appeared, the campus beauty, and the ancestor of every manipulative green tea woman to ever exist. One afternoon, she barged into the VIP room while I was sleeping. "Brother Wang," she said sweetly, "don't you think this assistant is terribly unprofessional? Who falls asleep at work and drools everywhere?" She lifted a book elegantly. "I actually won a city-level Golden Voice Award. Let me read for you instead." Then she began reciting philosophy like she was performing tragic opera on national television. Jiang Wang, who had just started drifting into sleep, immediately frowned. His headache returned instantly. Unfortunately, Liu Liu misunderstood completely. Seeing him frown, she assumed he was emotionally captivated and became even more dramatic. She lowered her head deliberately, exposing her delicate collarbone, while reading in a trembling, emotional voice. "Enough!" Jiang Wang slammed his hand onto the table. Liu Liu jumped in fright, eyes instantly filling with tears. "Brother Wang, was my reading not good?" "Get out," he snapped coldly. "Are you reading philosophy or summoning ghosts?" Then he turned toward me. I was standing in the corner, holding a bag of chips like a frightened hamster. "And you?" I nearly cried. I'll leave immediately. Please don't deduct my salary." "Who said you could leave?" He strode over, pushed me gently back into the chair, and shoved the book into my hands. "Read. That sleepy part from earlier. Hurry, my head's about to explode." I looked miserable. But I forgot where I stopped. Jiang Wang closed his eyes and sighed deeply before suddenly rubbing my head helplessly. "Forget it. Just lie down and sleep. Listening to your breathing is enough." Standing outside the door, Liu Liu watched the entire scene with a distorted expression, gripping the doorknob so hard her knuckles turned white. From that day onward, rumors exploded across campus. The cold male god apparently didn't like elegant beauties. He liked sleepy couch potatoes. Our strange employer-employee relationship continued peacefully until Valentine's Day. That day I skipped work to hunt for discounted chocolate. Jiang Wang couldn't reach me. Without me around, his insomnia relapsed instantly, and for some reason, anxiety clawed at his chest so fiercely that he nearly lost his mind. He practically turned the entire university upside down searching for me. Eventually, he found me squatting beside a street stall. I was holding 2 skewers of grilled meat, sauce smeared around my mouth, completely focused on grinding levels in my mobile game. A black luxury car stopped nearby. Jiang Wang stepped out. That was the moment I realized he wasn't just rich. He was disgustingly rich. He stood in front of me, face dark. "Lin Yi Yi." I looked up and grinned, coriander still stuck to my lips. "Oh!" Boss, you here for grilled skewers too? They've got a buy two, get one free deal today. He stared at my messy hair, oversized t-shirt, cheap slippers, and completely unladylike posture. I looked nothing like a romantic young woman in the prime of youth, and yet, the chaotic heartbeat tormenting him all day suddenly calmed. He crouched in front of me without caring that his expensive suit touched the dusty ground. Why didn't you come today? I went bargain hunting, I answered honestly. And it's Valentine's Day. I figured you'd be busy with pretty girls, so I didn't want to bother you. Then I generously offered him a skewer. Want one? My treat. Jiang Wang looked at the grilled meat before staring directly into my eyes. Yi. You really love money, don't you? Of course, I replied immediately. Money buys game skins, milk tea, and freedom. He took a deep breath. The tips of his ears turned faintly red. Then, would you like to sign a contract? What kind of contract? A lifetime one. Before I could react, he stole the skewer from my hand and bit directly where I had bitten earlier. My soul nearly left my body. Then, in the most domineering tone imaginable, he declared, I'll support you for the rest of your life. You eat, sleep, play games, and stay beside me so I can sleep peacefully. My card is yours. Buy whatever you want. In exchange, you're not allowed to look at other men. And you're never allowed to disappear like today again. My brain started calculating instantly. Unlimited spending. Luxury life. No working. Only sleeping. This deal smelled amazing. I swallowed hard and asked the most important question of all. Does the contract include lifetime milk tea? Jiang Wang laughed. It was the first genuine smile I had ever seen from him, warm enough to melt glaciers. I'll buy the entire milk tea factory for you. Deal. I slapped his hand immediately. And that was how I accidentally married into the wealthiest and weirdest family in the city. After officially agreeing to Jiang Wang's ridiculous human pillow contract, my life transformed overnight. I moved from a cramped dorm room filled with instant noodle cups and laundry piles into a luxury penthouse overlooking half the city skyline. Every morning, I woke up surrounded by floor-to-ceiling windows, soft silk blankets, and the smell of freshly delivered milk tea. At first, I honestly thought Jiang Wang was joking about giving me unlimited spending rights. Then, on my third day living with him, he handed me a black card. No password, no limit, no hesitation. Buy whatever you want, he said calmly while reading financial reports. If you don't spend enough each month, I'll assume you're unhappy living with me. I stared at the card in complete disbelief. What kind of terrifying capitalist romance was this? Meanwhile, Jiang Wang's daily routine remained horrifyingly disciplined. Meetings, contracts, overseas conferences, endless business dinners. His schedule was packed so tightly, it made my head hurt just looking at it. And yet, no matter how late he returned home, he always came straight to find me first. Usually he'd walk into the bedroom exhausted, loosen his tie, and quietly ask in a low voice, Yi, are you asleep yet? If I answered no, he would immediately relax like someone whose soul had finally returned to their body. Sometimes, I'd still be gaming in bed while wearing a face mask and eating chips. Jiang Wang would simply sit beside me silently, resting his head against my shoulder while listening to the clicking sounds of my game controls. Only then could he sleep peacefully. Over time, the employees at Jiang Corporation began spreading bizarre rumors. Some claimed their terrifying young CEO had secretly raised a spirit creature to cure insomnia. Others said he had fallen victim to black magic. The more outrageous ones insisted he couldn't survive without hearing a certain girl snore every night. Unfortunately for Jiang Wang, those rumors weren't entirely wrong. One night, I stayed up until 3 a.m. trying to rank up in a game tournament. Jiang Wang had an important international meeting the next day, so he went to sleep first. Or rather, he tried to. An hour later, he still hadn't fallen asleep. 2 hours later, he walked out of the bedroom with a dark expression and found me screaming at teammates through my headset. "Why are you stealing jungle buffs again? Are you blind?" Jiang Wang stood there quietly for a few seconds before speaking in a dangerously calm voice. "Lin Yi." I froze instantly. He slowly pulled my gaming chair backward and bent down beside me. "Come sleep." "But I'm in ranked mode," I whispered weakly. "I'll buy the company." "Huh?" "The game company," he repeated coldly. "I'll shut the servers down." I nearly flew into bed at lightning speed. That night, Jiang Wang hugged me tightly from behind like an oversized human heating pad. His breathing gradually slowed, and within minutes, he finally fell asleep. Meanwhile, I stared at the ceiling in shock. This man was genuinely insane. But, strangely enough, I didn't hate it. A month later, our relationship became official. Not because Jiang Wang confessed romantically, no. It happened because his grandmother accidentally walked into the living room at midnight and found him kneeling beside the sofa while carefully covering me with a blanket after I had fallen asleep eating potato chips. The old lady stared silently for a full 10 seconds. Then she turned around and shouted upstairs loudly enough to shake the villa. "Chengyin, your son is finally in love." The entire Jiang household exploded into chaos. By morning, even the family chefs knew Jiang Wang had fallen headfirst into romance. His mother immediately began planning our wedding. I nearly fainted. Wait, I cried while hugging my milk tea. "Auntie, isn't this moving way too fast?" Mother Jiang looked at me seriously. "Fast?" "Yi, my son has had insomnia for 28 years. You made him sleep in 3 minutes. You are literally a national treasure. There's no way I'm letting you escape." I looked toward Jiang Wang for help. That traitor calmly sipped his coffee and said, "I agree with Mother." I almost threw my pudding at him. From that day onward, Mother Jiang treated me like her biological daughter. Or rather, like a rare endangered species. She forbade me from carrying anything heavy, which was ridiculous because the heaviest thing I normally carried was emotional damage from losing ranked matches. Whenever I visited the Jiang mansion, the servants practically panicked around me. "Miss Lin, please sit. Miss Lin, please don't pour your own water. Miss Lin, careful. The floor might tire you." At first, I felt extremely guilty. Then I adapted completely within 3 days. Humans truly are creatures of habit. Meanwhile, Bai Lian still refused to give up. After repeatedly failing to humiliate me, she changed tactics entirely and began portraying herself as the tragic childhood sweetheart. One rainy afternoon, she appeared at Jiang Corporation carrying homemade soup. I happened to be there that day, sprawled across Jiang Wang's office couch while eating fruit and watching dramas on my tablet. The moment Bai Lian entered and saw me comfortably wearing Jiang Wang's suit jacket, her expression nearly cracked. Still, she forced out a smile. "Brother Wang, I heard you've been overworking lately, so I made soup personally." She emphasized the word personally like she was accepting a Nobel Prize. Jiang Wang didn't even look up from his documents. "Leave it there." Bai Lian bit her lip before glancing toward me. "Yi," she said softly, "you're really lucky. Brother Wang spoils you so much." I nodded honestly. "Yeah, he's basically my ATM with insomnia." The office fell silent. Even the assistant outside almost choked. Bai Lian's smile twitched violently. She clearly expected me to deny it politely. Unfortunately, I had never learned the art of social elegance. Jiang Wang finally looked up. Instead of getting angry, he calmly added, "If possible, I'd also like to become her lifelong wallet." Bai Lian looked like she was about to cough blood. Still unwilling to surrender, she opened the thermos dramatically. "Brother Wang, Try the soup while it's hot." The rich aroma filled the office instantly. I sniffed the air. Honestly, it smelled amazing. My eyes followed the soup bowl unconsciously. Jiang Wang noticed immediately. Without hesitation, he pushed the bowl toward me. "You drink it." Bai Lian froze. "But I made that specifically for you." Jiang Wang finally frowned slightly. "And Yi Yi is carrying my future happiness. So naturally, she has priority." I almost spat out soup. Future happiness? What kind of strange corporate phrasing was that? Bai Lian's eyes turned red instantly. She stared at him in disbelief. "Brother Wang, do you really like her that much?" Jiang Wang leaned back in his chair calmly. Then, for the first time ever, he answered without hesitation. "Yes." The single word landed like a hammer. No coldness, no impatience, just certainty. Even I stopped moving, because at that moment I suddenly realized something terrifying. Somewhere along the way, I had genuinely fallen in love with him too. That realization hit me harder than expected. For the first time in my life, I couldn't sleep properly. I lay in Jiang Wang's enormous bed wrapped in a silk blanket, staring blankly at the ceiling while my brain replayed his voice over and over again. Yes, just one word. But it kept echoing in my chest like a curse. Beside me, Jiang Wang was already asleep, breathing steadily with one arm wrapped possessively around my waist. His usually cold face looked softer in sleep, almost peaceful. I turned carefully and stared at him. Honestly speaking, this man was absurd. Too handsome, too rich, too capable, and somehow genuinely willing to spoil a lazy, game-addicted salted fish like me for the rest of his life. The more I thought about it, the hotter my face became. At 3 a.m, I quietly pulled out my phone and typed into the search bar, "What should I do if I accidentally fall in love with my sugar daddy?" The internet gave me many answers. Most of them were useless. One comment, however, caught my attention. "If he gives you his black card willingly, marry him immediately." Very convincing. I slept peacefully after that. The next morning, Jiang Wang woke up to find me staring at him with sparkling eyes. He frowned slightly. "Why are you looking at me like that?" I grabbed his hand seriously. "Jiang Wang." "Hmm?" I suddenly realized something. "What?" "You're actually pretty good looking." He stared at me for 2 seconds before letting out a low laugh. Then he leaned down and kissed my forehead gently. "Only realized now?" My heart exploded on the spot. Whew, damn, this man was cheating. After confirming my feelings, our relationship became even more disgustingly sweet. Every morning, Jiang Wang personally woke me up for breakfast because I once complained that the servants opened the curtains too violently and damaged my emotional stability. Every night, he carried me back to bed after I fell asleep on the couch watching dramas. And every single time I lost a ranked game and got angry, Jiang Wang calmly transferred money into my account until my mood improved. One day, after losing 7 matches in a row, I stared at the transfer notification on my phone in silence. "Jiang Wang." "Do you think money can solve everything?" He looked up from his laptop calmly. "In your case, yes." Reasonable. I couldn't even argue. Soon after, preparations for our engagement banquet officially began. The Jiang family moved with terrifying efficiency. In less than 3 days, half the upper-class social circle already knew that the notoriously cold heir of Jiang Corporation was hopelessly obsessed with a lazy girl who liked milk tea more than luxury jewelry. The reactions were intense. Some people thought I had extraordinary hidden talents. Others believed I had manipulated Jiang Wang psychologically. One particularly dramatic rumor claimed I had saved his life once, and he was repaying a life debt. Only Mother Jiang knew the truth. Her son simply couldn't sleep without hearing me breathe. On the day of the engagement banquet, I was dragged out of bed at 6 in the morning by an entire professional styling team. I nearly cried. Do rich people not believe in sleeping? Mother Jiang immediately hugged me sympathetically. Poor baby. It's okay. After today, nobody can steal you from our family anymore. That sounded strangely threatening. By evening, the banquet hall glittered like something out of a fantasy movie. Crystal chandeliers hung from the ceiling. Fresh roses filled the air with fragrance. Wealthy elites dressed in couture gowns and luxury suits gathered everywhere, smiling politely while secretly gossiping about me. Meanwhile, I was hiding in the lounge, secretly eating spicy chips because I was hungry. Jiang Wang entered the room and caught me immediately. He looked at the bright red seasoning powder around my mouth and sighed helplessly. You'll ruin your lipstick. I held up a chip defensively. But I'm starving. Without another word, Jiang Wang bent down slightly and wiped my mouth himself using a handkerchief. His movements were careful and patient, completely natural. Unfortunately, the lounge door suddenly opened at that exact moment. Several wealthy young ladies stood frozen outside. Their expressions looked like their worldview had just collapsed, which, honestly, was understandable. The terrifyingly cold Jiang air personally wiping chip powder from a girl's lips. That image was horrifying. One of the girls couldn't hold back anymore. Miss Lin, she asked stiffly, how exactly did you make young Master Jiang fall for you? I swallowed my chips thoughtfully, then answered honestly. I slept. Silence. Complete silence. Their expressions became even more shattered. Jiang Wang pressed a hand against his forehead helplessly, while I happily continued eating. Not long after, the banquet officially began. As the future heir of the Jiang family, Jiang Wang naturally became the center of attention the moment he entered the hall. Tall, elegant, cold, untouchable, like a king walking through his kingdom. Then, he extended his hand toward me. The entire hall turned silent instantly. I stared at him nervously. Honestly, I wasn't used to this kind of attention, but Jiang Wang simply looked at me steadily and said softly, "Come here." Just 2 words. Yet somehow, all my nervousness disappeared. I placed my hand in his. The moment our fingers intertwined, the coldness around Jiang Wang seemed to melt away completely. Gasps echoed throughout the hall. Because everyone could see it clearly. The legendary Jiang Wang was looking at me like I was the most precious thing in the world. The engagement ceremony proceeded smoothly at first. Until Bai Lian appeared again. This woman truly possessed the life force of a cockroach. Dressed in a long white gown, she walked into the banquet looking pale and fragile, immediately attracting attention. The atmosphere shifted subtly. Everyone knew about her history with the Jiang family. Mother Jiang's expression darkened instantly. Why is she here? A servant lowered his head nervously. Miss Bai said she came to offer congratulations. Offer congratulations. More like offering psychological warfare. Sure enough, Bai Lian slowly approached us with red eyes. Brother Wang, she said softly, voice trembling. I just wanted to congratulate you. Jiang Wang's expression remained ice cold. Done? Her face stiffened slightly. Still, she forced herself to continue. I know you don't love me. But after growing up together for so many years, can't we at least still be friends? The surrounding guests immediately became excited. Drama. Upper-class people loved drama more than anything. I quietly continued chewing snacks while watching the show. Honestly, I was more curious about the dessert table. Bai Lian suddenly turned toward me. Yi, she whispered pitifully. You don't mind me talking to Brother Wang, right? Classic trap question. If I said yes, I'd seem petty. If I said no, she'd continue clinging to him endlessly. Unfortunately for her, I wasn't normal. I thought seriously for a moment before answering honestly. I do mind a little. The crowd froze again. Clearly, they weren't expecting such a direct answer. Even Bai Lian looked stunned. I sighed and wiped my hands calmly. Because he's mine now. So if another woman keeps calling him Brother Wang in front of me, of course I'll feel annoyed. Simple logic. Mother Jiang immediately slapped the table excitedly. Good! That's exactly how a Jiang family daughter-in-law should speak. Grandmother Jiang nodded proudly beside her. Direct and honest, no fake politeness. Excellent. Bai Lian's face turned completely pale. Meanwhile, Jiang Wang lowered his eyes toward me quietly. Then, right in front of everyone, he suddenly bent down and kissed the corner of my lips gently. The hall exploded into chaos, gasps, whispers, utter disbelief. Jiang Wang ignored all of it. He simply looked at Bai Lian indifferently and said, "Now you have your answer." Then he turned back toward me. Still angry? I blinked. A little. He sighed softly. Then I'll buy you another milk tea after this. My anger disappeared instantly. Money and milk tea really could solve everything. From that day onward, my reputation within the upper-class social circle became extremely strange. Some people called me the luckiest woman alive. Others called me a gold-digging genius. A few secretly referred to me as the sleeping fox spirit, who had bewitched the heir of the Jiang family. Meanwhile, Mother Jiang proudly corrected everyone at every opportunity. Our Yi isn't a fox spirit, she declared seriously during one charity banquet. She's a national-level lucky mascot. I almost died from embarrassment on the spot. Unfortunately, the Jiang family genuinely believed this, because after I entered Jiang Wang's life, everything around him became smoother. His insomnia improved dramatically. His temper became less terrifying. He even started smiling occasionally during meetings, which scared the company executives so badly that one vice president nearly booked a hospital checkup thinking he was hallucinating. As for me, I remained gloriously useless. Every day I woke up around noon, ordered milk tea, played games, and occasionally accompanied Mother Jiang and Grandma Jiang shopping. My greatest achievement was successfully convincing the two most powerful women in the Jiang family to start playing PUBG Mobile. The results were catastrophic. Mother Jiang became violently competitive. Grandma Jiang specialized in throwing grenades at teammates, and every evening the luxurious Jiang mansion echoed with furious shouting like an esports training camp. "Cover me!" Someone revive Grandma. "Who threw that grenade?" The servants had long since gone numb. Even Jiang Wang eventually learned to walk calmly through the battlefield sounds while discussing billion-dollar contracts on the phone. One evening, after Grandma Jiang accidentally blew up the entire squad again, she became so angry she slammed her phone onto the sofa. "This broken game is bullying old people," I quickly comforted her. "No, Grandma, your aim is actually improving." Mother Jiang nodded seriously beside me. "Yes. Earlier, you only killed family members. This time, you killed strangers, too." Grandma Jiang instantly regained confidence. Meanwhile, Jiang Wang stood nearby, silently rubbing his temples. I could tell he regretted introducing Wi-Fi to this household. Still, peaceful days never lasted long in wealthy families. About 2 months before the wedding, an unexpected problem appeared. Jiang Wang's grandfather returned from overseas. Unlike the rest of the Jiang family, Old Master Jiang was a truly traditional man. Cold, strict, and terrifyingly authoritative, he had spent most of his life expanding the Jiang business empire abroad. Even Mother Jiang became more restrained whenever his name was mentioned. The atmosphere in the mansion turned tense immediately after hearing he would return. Only Grandma Jiang remained calm. She waved her hand dismissively. That old fossil still owes me 3 rounds of mahjong losses from 20 years ago. What's there to fear? I admired her greatly. The day old Master Jiang arrived, the entire mansion lined up formally to greet him. Everyone wore elegant clothing. Everyone stood properly. Everyone looked nervous. Meanwhile, I was half asleep because I had stayed up until 4 in the morning gaming. Jiang Wang pinched my cheek quietly. "Wake up." "I am awake," I mumbled with my eyes closed. "You're drooling." That woke me instantly. At that exact moment, the front doors opened. An elderly man entered slowly with a cane in hand, followed by several assistants. His hair was completely white, but his sharp eyes still carried overwhelming pressure. The room instantly fell silent. Even I subconsciously straightened my back. Old Master Jiang's gaze swept across everyone before finally landing on me. "So," he said coldly, "this is the girl." I swallowed nervously. Honestly, compared to the rest of the chaotic Jiang family, this grandfather finally looked like a normal, wealthy patriarch from television dramas. Which meant danger. Mother Jiang immediately smiled. "Dad, this is Yi Yi, Wanger's girlfriend." Old Master Jiang gave a small grunt before sitting down. Then he looked directly at me. "What do you do?" I froze for 2 seconds. How was I supposed to answer that? Professional sleeper? Full-time milk tea consumer? Fortunately, Jiang Wang calmly rescued me. "She studies at university." Old Master Jiang frowned. "And besides studying?" The entire room fell silent again. Everyone looked nervous. Even the servants lowered their heads. Clearly, this was some kind of wealthy family interrogation. I thought carefully for a moment before answering honestly. "I mainly sleep." Dead silence. Mother Jiang covered her face instantly. One assistant almost dropped the tea tray. Even Jiang Wang paused briefly. Old Master Jiang stared at me expressionlessly. "You sleep?" I nodded sincerely. "Yes. I sleep very professionally." Grandma Jiang suddenly burst into laughter so hard she nearly fell off the sofa. "Good, honest. Much better than those fake, elegant girls." Old Master Jiang looked even colder now. "Then what exactly makes you worthy of marrying into the Jiang family?" This question finally sounded serious. Everyone became tense again. I blinked slowly, then looked toward Jiang Wang. He was watching me quietly, completely calm, as though he would support whatever answer I gave. For some reason, my nervousness suddenly disappeared. I turned back toward old Master Jiang honestly. "Probably because your grandson likes me very much." Another silence. "But," I continued thoughtfully, "I like him a lot too. He works really hard every day. He gets headaches, can't sleep properly, and carries too much pressure. When he's with me, he can finally relax. So, I think that's enough." The room became unbelievably quiet. For the first time since entering, old Master Jiang stopped looking cold. Instead, he stared at me carefully, as though seeing me clearly for the first time. Then, he suddenly looked toward Jiang Wang. "You sleep well now?" Jiang Wang answered calmly. "Yes." Old Master Jiang fell silent for several seconds. Finally, he sighed quietly. "Good." That single word shocked the entire room because everyone knew what it meant. Approval. Mother Jiang nearly cried from happiness. Grandma Jiang immediately started bragging loudly. "I told you our Yi Yi is amazing. She cured the insomnia problem all of you failed to solve for years." Old Master Jiang ignored them completely. Instead, he looked at me again and asked seriously, "What else do you like besides sleeping?" I answered immediately. "Money." Mother Jiang slapped her thigh excitedly. "See? Dad, isn't she adorable?" Old Master Jiang stared at me for a few seconds longer. Then, to everyone's disbelief, the corner of his mouth twitched upward slightly. A smile. An actual smile. The servants looked like they had seen a ghost. Old Master Jiang slowly pulled out a bank card and placed it on the table. "Meeting gift. No spending limit." I nearly stopped breathing. The old man added coldly, "If Wanger ever bullies you, spend his money until he goes bankrupt." I grabbed the card so fast my soul almost left my body. At that moment, I finally understood something important. The Jiang family wasn't normal. Not a single one of them. After successfully winning over Old Master Jiang with my extraordinary talents in sleeping and loving money, my status within the family rose to terrifying heights. To put it simply, I became untouchable. If Jiang Wang forgot to bring me milk tea, Mother Jiang would scold him. If I yawned during dinner, Grandma Jiang immediately ordered the chef to make midnight snacks. Once, I casually complained that the villa's sofa wasn't soft enough for quality napping. 3 days later, Old Master Jiang personally imported an Italian custom-made couch worth more than my entire apartment building back in college. I sat on it in complete terror. Rich people truly solved problems in horrifying ways. Meanwhile, Jiang Wang had completely accepted his fate as my lifelong caretaker. Every morning before leaving for work, he carefully prepared snacks beside the bed in case I woke up hungry. Every afternoon, he reminded me to stretch so I wouldn't become a permanently evolved sea slug, according to his exact words. Every night, he returned home no matter how late it was, because if he couldn't hold me while sleeping, his insomnia immediately came back. At first, I thought he was exaggerating. Then one evening, I went to stay overnight at Grandma Jiang's room because we were secretly playing mahjong until 3 a.m. The next morning, Jiang Wang appeared downstairs looking terrifyingly gloomy. His assistant stood behind him holding documents with the expression of someone attending a funeral. Mother Jiang blinked. "Wanger, why is your face so dark?" Jiang Wang looked at me expressionlessly. "She abandoned me." I nearly choked on soy milk. Grandma Jiang immediately defended me. "What nonsense! My granddaughter-in-law was accompanying me." Jiang Wang walked straight toward me and calmly lifted me into his arms right in front of everyone. "Tonight, she accompanies me." Then he carried me upstairs like a kidnapper reclaiming stolen property. Mother Jiang watched emotionally from below. "Hey, yo, look at him. He's so clingy." Honestly speaking, sometimes even I felt Jiang Wang's possessiveness was getting ridiculous. One time, I simply praised a male game streamer for having a nice voice. That very evening, Jiang Wang silently sponsored the streamer's company. The next day, the poor streamer abruptly announced retirement and moved overseas for personal reasons. I stared at Jiang Wang in horror. "You didn't threaten him, right?" Jiang Wang calmly cut steak on his plate. "I'm a law-abiding citizen." That sounds even scarier. Still, despite his terrifying possessiveness, Jiang Wang spoiled me to an unbelievable degree. If I said I wanted stars, he'd probably buy satellites. If I mentioned liking a dessert once, the chef would learn to make it by the next day. And if anyone dared upset me, God help them. The best example happened during one luxury charity gala. That night, Mother Jiang insisted I accompany her because she wanted to show off her future daughter-in-law to the entire upper-class social circle. I originally refused. Why? Because wearing heels was a form of torture. Unfortunately, Mother Jiang directly offered to clear my gaming shopping cart for an entire year. I surrendered instantly. At the gala, I wore a champagne gold gown personally selected by Mother Jiang. The dress sparkled under the crystal lights like liquid gold, matching the diamond necklace Grandma Jiang aggressively forced onto me before leaving home. "You must shine brighter than everyone else," she had declared proudly. Honestly, I felt less like a fiancé and more like an expensive walking chandelier. The moment we entered the ballroom, countless eyes turned toward us. Whispers spread immediately. "That's Lin Yi? She's prettier than the rumors said. I heard Jiang Wang practically worships her." Impossible. Young Master Jiang has always hated women. I awkwardly hid behind Jiang Wang while nibbling mini desserts. Socializing exhausted me spiritually. Unfortunately, trouble still found me. Near the center of the ballroom stood several wealthy young ladies chatting together. The moment I passed by, one of them deliberately laughed loudly enough for everyone nearby to hear. Some people really are lucky. Just because they cured insomnia, they think they can become phoenixes overnight. Another girl covered her mouth elegantly. Well, sleeping is technically a talent. Soft laughter spread through the group. Classic rich girl bullying. Honestly, I didn't even feel angry. I mainly felt tired. Why waste energy fighting when I could be eating cake? So I simply picked up another strawberry tart and prepared to leave. But before I could move, a cold voice suddenly rang out behind us. "Repeat that." The atmosphere froze instantly. Jiang Wang stood there holding a champagne glass, eyes icy enough to freeze the entire ballroom. The girls immediately turned pale. One forced a nervous smile. "Young Master Jiang, we were only joking." "About my fiancé?" His voice remained calm, which was much scarier than shouting. Nobody dared answer. The ballroom fell deathly silent. Then Jiang Wang slowly wrapped an arm around my waist and pulled me against his side possessively. "You say she became a phoenix overnight?" His gaze swept coldly across the crowd. But in my eyes, she was already precious before meeting me. Every person in the room stopped breathing. Even I looked up at him blankly. Jiang Wang lowered his eyes toward me slightly. "She doesn't need wealth, status, or anyone's approval. As long as she stands beside me, that's enough." My heart exploded instantly. Nearby, Mother Jiang started secretly wiping tears with a handkerchief. Grandma Jiang loudly whispered to Old Master Jiang, "Our grandson is finally acting human." Old Master Jiang nodded solemnly. A miracle. Meanwhile, the girls who mocked me earlier looked like they wanted to disappear into the floor. Unfortunately for them, Mother Jiang wasn't finished yet. She gracefully walked over while holding her wine glass and smiled warmly. "Young ladies," she said kindly, "let me give you some advice. If you have time to mock my daughter-in-law, perhaps spend that energy finding men willing to spoil you half as much as my son spoils her." Direct hit. Critical damage. The girls nearly died on the spot. Grandma Jiang immediately added another stab. "And if you can't find one, maybe lower your standards. There are many decent men with small apartments." Old Master Jiang calmly concluded the execution. "Security." 3 bodyguards appeared instantly. "Escort these guests out. They're too noisy." The girls were removed from the gala in complete humiliation, while the entire ballroom watched silently. I stared at the Jiang family in shock. This family really protected their own like lunatics. Later that evening, after the gala ended, I leaned sleepily against Jiang Wang inside the car. The city lights flickered outside the window, while soft music played quietly in the background. I yawned. "Tired?" Jiang Wang brushed my hair back gently. "A little." He looked at me silently for a moment before suddenly speaking softly. "Yi. If one day I lose everything, the Jiang family, the money, the power, would you still stay with me?" I blinked in confusion. Honestly, that question sounded ridiculous coming from him. I reached out and poked his forehead. You worked too much again, didn't you? He caught my hand quietly. I sighed dramatically. Jiang Wang, even if you go bankrupt, you'd still be handsome. So I definitely wouldn't starve. For a second he stared at me, speechlessly. Then he suddenly laughed. A real laugh, low, warm, helpless. He pulled me into his arms and kissed the top of my head gently. Good. Then I'll keep earning money for you forever. Outside the car window, neon lights reflected across the sleeping city. And for the first time in his exhausting life, Jiang Wang finally understood what it meant to come home to peace. As the wedding date approached, the entire Jiang family entered a state of terrifying excitement. Mother Jiang became obsessed with wedding planning. Grandma Jiang became obsessed with winning against other rich ladies by hosting the most outrageous ceremony possible. Old Master Jiang pretended not to care, but secretly invested in expanding the family helicopter landing area because the guests might need extra parking space. Only Jiang Wang remained relatively calm, or at least he looked calm on the surface. In reality, the man had quietly developed a terrifying level of wedding anxiety. One night, I woke up thirsty around 2 a.m. and found him sitting alone in the study, staring at a tablet with an unusually serious expression. Still half asleep, I shuffled over in my pajamas. "What are you doing?" Jiang Wang immediately turned off the screen. "Nothing." Suspicious. Very suspicious. I narrowed my eyes and lunged toward him. After a brief wrestling match that completely destroyed the dignity of the future president of Jiang Corporation, I successfully snatched the tablet away. Then I froze. On the screen was a document titled 100 Things to Know Before Marriage. Below it were dozens of highlighted notes. Wife's emotional stability is important. Never argue when she is hungry. Milk tea can reduce conflict probability. Couples should sleep holding hands for relationship security. I slowly looked up. "Are you studying marriage?" Jiang Wang's ears turned faintly red. "No." "You highlighted the entire document." Silence. I nearly died laughing. The terrifying business emperor of the Jiang family was secretly researching how to become a good husband at 2 a.m. This man was hopeless. Eventually, the wedding day arrived. Or, more accurately, the entire city entered a state of chaos. News reporters surrounded the venue before sunrise. Luxury cars stretched across several streets. Even nearby skyscrapers displayed congratulatory messages from business partners. I sat in the dressing room, staring blankly at the mountain of jewelry being placed onto my body. Can I still breathe in this? Mother Jiang looked emotional. My beautiful daughter-in-law must shine brighter than the sun. Grandma Jiang nodded seriously. More diamonds. I felt like a decorated Christmas tree. Meanwhile, outside the dressing room, Jiang Wang was apparently terrifying everyone. According to the bridesmaids, he had checked the wedding schedule 17 times in 1 hour and nearly fired a manager because the flower arrangements were 3 centimeters too low. When I heard this, I immediately burst into laughter. Your CEO is nervous? The assistant looked like he wanted to cry. Miss Lin, young Master Jiang hasn't blinked properly since this morning. Honestly, I found this extremely entertaining. The mighty Jiang Wang, afraid of marriage. Who would have thought? A while later, the doors to the ceremony hall finally opened. Music echoed softly throughout the enormous ballroom, while thousands of crystal lights shimmered overhead like stars. And there, standing at the far end of the aisle, was Jiang Wang. The moment I saw him, my breath caught slightly. He wore a black tailored suit with silver embroidery along the cuffs, elegant and cold, like a king from another era. Yet despite his calm posture, I could see the tension hidden in his eyes. For the first time since I met him, Jiang Wang actually looked nervous. The realization warmed my heart strangely. Mother Jiang sniffled dramatically beside me. He's definitely more nervous than the bride. Grandma Jiang nodded proudly. As expected of our Jiang family men, completely whipped. Then, the ceremony officially began, except not exactly in the traditional way, because I had refused to walk. Specifically, I refused to walk in 10-centimeter heels while carrying 20 kilograms of diamonds. So Father Jiang, the quiet man who spoiled his wife more than logic itself, solved the problem personally. He installed a moving conveyor belt, covered in rose petals, from the entrance all the way to the stage. That's right, a conveyor belt. I stood on it wearing my enormous wedding gown while slowly gliding toward Jiangwang like luxury cargo being delivered. The guests stared in stunned silence. Nobody in the history of elite society had ever seen a bride arrive like sushi at a high-end restaurant. Mother Jiang applauded emotionally. Brilliant! My daughter-in-law doesn't even need to walk. Grandma Jiang wiped tears proudly. This is true technological romance. At the end of the conveyor belt, Jiang Wang stood completely motionless. But the moment I finally floated close enough, I saw it. The helpless smile breaking through his usual cold expression. Happy now? He asked quietly. I nodded honestly. Very. He sighed softly, then reached out and carried me directly off the conveyor belt into his arms. The ballroom exploded instantly. Screams, applause, camera flashes everywhere. And Jiang Wang? He ignored all of it. He simply held me securely while walking toward the stage himself, like carrying something precious. The ceremony itself should have been romantic. Unfortunately, the Jiang family was involved, so things became progressively stranger. During the champagne toast, I frowned after one sip. Bitter. Grandma Jiang immediately slammed her cane down. Replace it! Within 10 minutes, the elegant champagne tower was replaced with a gigantic pyramid of brown sugar bubble milk tea. The guests looked spiritually shaken. Meanwhile, Mother Jiang nodded proudly. This feels much more festive. And so, under the stunned gaze of the city's upper class, the heir of the Jiang family raised an XXL cup of milk tea beside his bride and toasted the audience seriously. Some guests actually copied us because they thought it was a new elite wedding trend. The next morning, social media exploded. The future of luxury weddings. The milk tea ceremony of the century. Jiang family redefines romance. I laughed so hard reading the articles that I nearly fell off the bed. Beside me, Jiang Wang calmly wrapped an arm around my waist and pulled me back against his chest. Careful. I looked up at him lazily. Mr. Jiang. Are you happy? He went quiet for a moment. Sunlight streamed through the massive bedroom windows, illuminating his face softly. Then he lowered his head and kissed my forehead gently. Very. Simple, quiet, but real. For someone like Jiang Wang, who had spent most of his life trapped beneath pressure, expectations, and loneliness, happiness had once seemed impossibly far away. And somehow, a lazy girl who loved sleeping, gaming, and milk tea had accidentally become the home he never knew he needed. 3 months after the wedding, I discovered I was pregnant. The Jiang family lost their minds instantly. Mother Jiang bought 3 baby product companies within a single afternoon. Grandma Jiang hired an entire opera troupe to perform blessings for 3 straight days. Old Master Jiang silently transferred several islands into the future child's name. I stared at the paperwork in horror. This baby hasn't even been born yet. Grandma Jiang looked offended. So? Our Jiang family children deserve assets before oxygen. Reasonable. Terrifying, but reasonable. Meanwhile, Jiang Wang became so overprotective that even breathing too heavily near me caused him stress. One rainy evening, I casually sneezed twice. By midnight, 7 doctors had arrived at the mansion. I sat wrapped in blankets while drinking ginger tea and watching everyone panic around me. I think this family might be insane. Jiang Wang crouched beside me seriously. No, you're just too important. And honestly, hearing that from him still made my heart race every single time. Pregnancy completely transformed my stats within the Jiang household. Before, I had merely been heavily protected. Now, I became a national treasure under top-level security. The entire top floor of the mansion was remodeled into a maternal wellness area, which was really just a luxurious prison where everyone monitored whether I drank enough water. Mother Jiang banned me from carrying anything heavier than a phone. Grandma Jiang threatened to fire any servant who allowed me to walk too quickly. Old Master Jiang personally hired nutritionists from 3 different countries. And Jiang Wang completely lost his mind. One morning, I casually mentioned craving strawberries at 4 a.m. By 5 o'clock, a private helicopter had delivered fresh strawberries from another province. I sat in bed holding the fruit bowl in stunned silence. Did you rob a farm? Jiang Wang calmly adjusted my blanket. You said you wanted them. This man genuinely treated pregnancy cravings like emergency military missions. Unfortunately, my pregnancy symptoms became increasingly strange. Other pregnant women craved sour food, or spicy food, or sweets. Me? I craved the smell of money, specifically freshly printed cash. The first time it happened, I nearly cried from nausea all afternoon. Nothing helped. Not soup, not fruit, not medicine. Then Jiang Wang returned home from work and opened a stack of newly issued banknotes while reviewing financial reports. The moment the scent of fresh ink drifted through the room, I suddenly stopped feeling sick. My eyes widened. Wait, I crawled toward the money like a possessed raccoon. Then I took a deep breath. Instant relief. The entire room fell silent. Mother Jiang looked horrified. Grandma Jiang looked fascinated. Old Master Jiang looked thoughtful. Meanwhile, Jiang Wang slowly asked, "Do you want to smell more?" I nodded seriously. And that was how the heir of the Jiang family developed a new nightly routine. Every evening, Jiang Wang sat beside the bed counting stacks of cash while I happily inhaled the scent beside him. 100 million. Flip. 200 million. Flip. 300 million. I sighed blissfully. This baby definitely belongs to the Jiang family. Even the doctors gave up trying to understand. One elderly specialist finally removed his glasses and sighed deeply. In 30 years of medicine, this is the first patient I've prescribed currency for. The Jiang family accepted the situation immediately. In fact, they became weirdly proud of it. Mother Jiang bragged to her rich friends non-stop. My grandson already understands wealth while still inside the womb. Grandma Jiang nodded proudly. Future financial genius. Honestly, I worried for this child's future. Still, despite the chaos, those months were unexpectedly peaceful. Every night, Jiang Wang held me carefully while sleeping, one hand resting protectively over my stomach. Sometimes I'd wake up in the middle of the night and find him quietly staring at me. At first it was creepy, then I got used to it. One evening, while rain tapped softly against the windows, I caught him watching me again. I poked his face sleepily. "What are you thinking about?" Jiang Wang stayed silent for a moment before answering quietly. "I still feel like I'm dreaming sometimes." You. The baby. This family." His voice was calm, but there was something vulnerable hidden underneath it. I blinked slowly. For someone like Jiang Wang, someone who had spent years carrying responsibility alone, happiness probably did feel unreal. I reached out and squeezed his hand gently. "Well, if this is a dream, Then you're paying for all my milk tea in the afterlife, too. He stared at me for 2 seconds, then suddenly laughed softly against my shoulder. I knew romance wouldn't last long with you. Of course not, I replied proudly. Practical love survives longer. He kissed my forehead helplessly. Honestly, I think that was the moment Jiang Wang truly understood why the Jiang family loved me so much. I wasn't elegant. I wasn't ambitious. I didn't pretend to be perfect. But with me, nobody needed to act. Not him. Not Mother Jiang. Not Grandma Jiang. Not even Old Master Jiang. For the first time in years, that enormous, wealthy household actually felt warm. Of course, peace never lasted forever. Around my 7th month of pregnancy, an old enemy returned. Bai Lian. Again. Honestly, even I had to admire her persistence. That afternoon, I was sitting in the mansion garden, eating fruit, while Grandma Jiang taught me advanced mahjong strategies. Mother Jiang sat nearby, reviewing baby clothing catalogs excitedly. Everything was peaceful. Then the butler approached nervously. "Madam, Miss Bai is here." The atmosphere instantly changed. Grandma Jiang rolled her eyes dramatically. "Why is this little white lotus still alive?" Mother Jiang frowned. "Didn't we make ourselves clear last time?" The butler coughed awkwardly. "She says she's pregnant." Silence. Complete silence. My watermelon nearly fell from my hands. Grandma Jiang's eyes widened. Mother Jiang slowly stood up. "Whose?" A few minutes later, Bai Lian entered the garden wearing a loose white dress, face pale and fragile like a tragic heroine. Unfortunately, nobody here appreciated tragic heroines anymore. The moment she saw me sitting comfortably under the umbrella while servants fed me fruit, jealousy flashed across her face uncontrollably. Still, she quickly lowered her head pitifully. "Auntie." Mother Jiang crossed her arms coldly. "Speak properly." Bai Lian bit her lip. "I'm pregnant." Grandma Jiang immediately asked the important question. "Congratulations. Who's the father?" Bai Lian's eyes turned red instantly. She looked toward me dramatically before whispering, "Brother Wang's." The garden became deathly silent. Then I burst out laughing. I laughed so hard watermelon juice nearly came out of my nose. Mother Jiang looked horrified. Yi, don't laugh too hard while pregnant." Grandma Jiang quickly patted my back. Meanwhile, Bai Lian stared at me in disbelief. Clearly, she expected tears, or anger, or panic, not hysterical laughter. Eventually, I managed to calm down enough to wipe my eyes. "Sorry," I gasped. "That was just really funny." Bai Lian's face twisted slightly. "You don't believe me?" Before I could answer, another voice suddenly rang out coldly behind us. "Believe what?" Everyone turned. Jiang Wang had returned home. Still wearing his black suit, expression icy, he walked directly toward us with terrifying calmness. The moment Bai Lian saw him, tears immediately fell down her cheeks. "Brother Wang." Jiang Wang didn't even look at her. Instead, he walked straight to me first. "Did she upset you?" I shook my head honestly. "No." She entertained me. The corner of Mother Jiang's mouth twitched. Priorities. Meanwhile, Bai Lian clutched her stomach dramatically. "Brother Wang, I'm pregnant." Finally, Jiang Wang glanced at her. Cold, emotionless. "And?" Bai Lian froze. You don't understand." Jiang Wang looked genuinely confused. "Should I?" The entire garden fell silent again. Then Bai Lian whispered shakily, "It's your child." At that moment, Jiang Wang actually laughed. Not warmly, not softly, coldly. dangerously, the kind of laugh that made everyone nearby nervous. Then he calmly pulled out his phone. "Assistant Chen." "Yes, President Jiang." "Bring the surveillance reports, medical records, hotel records, flight history, and DNA authorization documents." Bai Lian's face turned white instantly. Jiang Wang lowered his gaze toward her indifferently. "You've had exactly 4 conversations with me in the last 2 years. The longest lasted 37 seconds. And during all 4 occasions, at least 6 cameras were present." He paused slightly. "Oh, and one more thing. My wife is pregnant. So I'm in an extremely bad mood lately." The pressure in the garden became suffocating. Even the servants looked scared. Bai Lian trembled visibly now. You investigated me?" Jiang Wang's expression remained terrifyingly calm. "You came near my wife." "Of course I investigated you." Then, without another glance, he turned toward me and crouched beside my chair immediately. The terrifying aura vanished instantly. "Want more watermelon?" I nodded obediently. "Yes." Mother Jiang watched emotionally from nearby. Our Wanger really learned emotional regulation. Grandma Jiang sighed proudly. Love changes people. Meanwhile, Bai Lian stood there completely shattered while the entire Jiang family ignored her existence completely. Honestly, at that point, even I felt a little sorry for her. Just a little. Unfortunately for Bai Lian, things somehow became even worse for her after that. Assistant Chen arrived less than 10 minutes later carrying an entire stack of documents thick enough to crush someone emotionally and physically. He adjusted his glasses respectfully. "President Jiang, everything has been verified." Bai Lian's face had already lost all color. Jiang Wang didn't even bother taking the documents. "Read it." Assistant Chen nodded immediately. "Miss Bai checked into the Riverside Hotel 3 months ago with Mr. Xu Minghao. Stayed for 2 nights. Security footage confirms the records. Additionally," he flipped another page, "Miss Bai has recently borrowed money from 7 different people due to failed investment losses." Mother Jiang clicked her tongue. "So this is about money again." Grandma Jiang looked disappointed. "At least Yi Yi admits she loves money honestly." I nodded proudly while chewing watermelon. "Exactly." Bai Lian's lips trembled violently. "You investigated my private life?" Jiang Wang finally looked at her again. This time his voice was colder than winter snow. "You tried to involve my wife and child." "You should be grateful I only investigated." The pressure in the garden became unbearable. Even I subconsciously scooted my chair slightly farther away. Pregnant women needed emotional stability, and my husband currently looked like he might destroy an entire company before dinner. Bai Lian suddenly burst into tears. "You've changed. I loved you for so many years. Why are you treating me like this for her?" Jiang Wang frowned slightly. "For her?" Then he answered calmly. "She is my wife. And you are a stranger standing in my house trying to frame me." Simple, direct, fatal. Mother Jiang nearly applauded. Grandma Jiang muttered proudly, "As expected of the Jiang family men, efficient." Bai Lian staggered backward like she'd been stabbed. Meanwhile, I quietly raised my hand. "Can I ask something?" Everyone turned toward me. Even Bai Lian looked stunned. I blinked curiously. "If the baby isn't Jiang Wang's, why did you come here?" Honestly, I genuinely wanted to know. Bai Lian froze. Then her eyes slowly filled with humiliation, because everyone already knew the answer. Money, the Jiang family name, security, status. She thought if she created enough chaos during my pregnancy, maybe the Jiang family would accept the child to avoid scandal. Unfortunately for her, this family had never functioned normally in the first place. Mother Jiang crossed her arms and sneered. You underestimated us. Grandma Jiang nodded. Greatly. Old Master Jiang, who had been silent this entire time while drinking tea nearby, finally spoke. His deep voice instantly quieted the garden. Miss Bai. Bai Lian stiffened immediately. Old Master Jiang slowly placed down his teacup. In this family, we value honesty more than dignity. If you want money, say you want money. If you want help, ask for help. But schemes, he shook his head calmly. That's ugly. For the first time since arriving, Bai Lian truly looked ashamed. Tears streamed silently down her face. Honestly, at that moment she no longer looked like the proud white lotus trying to steal someone's fiancé. She just looked exhausted, broken, desperate, and suddenly the whole thing felt kind of sad. I sighed quietly. Pregnancy hormones were making me too soft-hearted lately. Before anyone else could speak, I suddenly grabbed Jiang Wang's sleeve. He asked immediately. Can we help her a little? The entire Jiang family turned toward me in shock. Even Bai Lian stared at me blankly. Mother Jiang looked horrified. Yi! She tried to steal your husband. I scratched my cheek awkwardly. She failed, though. Grandma Jiang almost choked, laughing. Old Master Jiang covered his mouth to hide his smile. Meanwhile, Jiang Wang looked at me helplessly. You really don't know how to hold grudges. I leaned against his shoulder lazily. Too tiring. After a long silence, Jiang Wang finally sighed. Then he looked toward Assistant Chen. Clear her debts. Bai Lian's eyes widened instantly. But, Jiang Wang continued coldly, this is the only time. You will never appear before my family again. And if you try another stunt near my wife, he smiled faintly. A terrifying smile. I'll make sure you regret being born. Bai Lian visibly trembled. A few seconds later, she lowered her head completely. I understand. For the first time ever, she looked at me sincerely. Not arrogantly, not mockingly, just tired. I lost. I blinked. Honestly? This never felt like winning or losing to me. I simply happened to stumble into a family that matched my weird personality perfectly. That was all. Eventually, Bai Lian left quietly under the sunset. And just like that, the final chapter of the White Lotus saga finally ended. Or so I thought. Because 2 months later, another disaster appeared. My son. More specifically, my unborn son inherited the Jiang family's terrifying intelligence. One evening, during a routine pregnancy checkup, the doctor stared at the monitor strangely. Then he adjusted his glasses. Interesting. Jiang Wang immediately became nervous. What's wrong? The doctor hesitated. Your baby appears unusually active. I frowned. But he kicks normally? The doctor coughed awkwardly. Mrs. Jiang. He's not kicking. He's reacting to voices. The room fell silent. The doctor pointed at the monitor carefully. Whenever President Jiang speaks, the baby becomes active. Whenever you mention food, he calms down. And he looked genuinely confused now. When someone mentioned stock market trends earlier, the baby's heartbeat accelerated. Everyone froze. I slowly turned toward Jiang Wang. Your son might already be preparing to inherit the company. Mother Jiang gasped dramatically. A genius! Grandma Jiang slammed the table excitedly. The Jiang bloodline remains undefeated. Meanwhile, I looked down at my stomach suspiciously. Baby, please don't become a workaholic like your father. Immediately, the baby stopped moving. The doctor stared at the screen in disbelief. He reacted again. Jiang Wang rubbed his forehead helplessly. He's definitely your son too. Lazy but selective. Honestly, that sounded accurate. And somehow, despite all the chaos, all the ridiculousness, all the absurd drama surrounding the Jiang family, I had never been happier in my life. Because for the first time ever, I no longer felt like a useless, salted fish drifting through life. I had a home, a husband who loved me exactly as I was, a bizarre but warm family, and soon, a tiny little salted fish of my own.